This is an MS Conversations Now Patients Voices program. My name is Stuart Schlossman. Most of you know me already. I am president and founder of MS Views and News. And MS Views and News, this is our event. This is something that we do without the support of anybody else. Tonight we have our guest, Megan Evans. Megan Evans is the founder of the MS Stage, and she too has multiple sclerosis. She's got an interesting story. We're not really going to hear much about her MS, but we're going to hear, and I'm going to speak to her about what she does that benefits so many, using her, using the MS Stage, and which is her company. And just letting you know, though, that Megan is a very open book. All right, she likes to speak publicly about her MS. She speaks about her journey. She was diagnosed 19 years ago. We're going to talk to her about why she created the MS Stage. We want to know more about her left leg. Don't be trying to figure out her left leg. We're going to listen to her talk about that later on. All right, we're going to speak about the important pieces of the MS Stage and how it empowers people with their own journeys. All right, so we're going to get started with Megan. And Megan, I just want to read you a short bio of her. She's the founder and creator of the MS Stage and the MS Stage method. Megan Evans has been living well with multiple sclerosis for over 19 years. After noticing a gap in the support community around MS, Megan Evans created mindfulness practices through meditation, movement, and sharing stories that helped her on her own healing journey and have now been proven to help others shift their mindset about their own journeys. As an empowerment coach, Megan helps women around the world with MS becoming friends with their symptoms. But I got a big question for you, Megan. Okay. We're supposed to be in a world that everybody is the same, men and women doing the same things. So why are you only empowering women? What about the men out there?
Well, I started with women. I do believe that it'll eventually, I might work with men, but it's women. I'm a woman. It's what I know best. I wanted to connect with women in the community, and more women also are dealing with MS than men in general, the numbers. I also feel that some men, they might be into meditation, they might not be into movement. There probably are very few that would be into the program, but I think eventually I will definitely find a way to serve both.
Okay, thank you. Before I get into talking with you about the important things that we have to discuss tonight, I want to let everybody know that's online. First off, I want to thank you for being online. And secondly, I want to let you know that if you have any questions to ask while I'm speaking with Megan, type them in, all right? I'm not going to wait till the very end. If it's relevant directly to what we're talking about, I'm going to try to get to your questions right away. I do have them up on my screen, so I'll be able to see when you type them in. So if you have anything to ask Megan that has anything to do with what we're talking about or what you think you know about Megan, go ahead and ask those questions, all right? All right, so Megan, let's talk about the MS Stage, all right? You told me that it's a 12-week guided experience to claim your hero's journey. What can you tell us about this hero's journey to get started?
So the MS Stage is, if you've ever heard of Joseph Campbell's, he wrote a book called The Hero's Journey. He was a professor of mythology and religion, and a very intelligent man. And a lot of films use, like screenwriters use the hero's journey, which is like the arc of their story when they're writing a film or a play or something. So what I did was I used the framework of the hero's journey for the framework of my body of work. And it's all about rewriting your story and coming back to your true essence and finding yourself again. So what I lead the women on their journeys, it's they found themselves at the end in a new way on their own journey.
Okay, thank you for that. So, okay, let's go into a few other things. Okay. First off, tell me about your diagnosis. How old were you? What was it like? What did you feel? How did you deal with it when you were first diagnosed?
So I was 24 years old. I lost feeling on the left side of my body and was having really bad vertigo. and went to a neurologist who said, you either have had a stroke, you have a brain tumor, or you have MS. And I was like, I guess I'll take door number 3 because that sounded like the best option. Then I only had one lesion on my brain, and so they couldn't officially diagnose me until 6 months later. But that doctor did a spinal tap on me and all the things and said, you know, it's as if you've had a stroke, you'll likely end up in a wheelchair one day. And I looked at my mom and said, no, I won't. And that's not going to be my life, you know? And so I walked out and never saw that doctor again. And yeah, so it was a journey. I immediately changed my diet. Back then, almost 20 years ago, it was very, nobody was talking about diet. Gluten-free was not really a thing. You know, now you go into grocery stores and everything on the shelf has gluten-free options. And back then that was not a thing, but that's pretty soon, almost right away, I went gluten-free. And ultimately, I don't know how many years, 5 or 6, 7 years after that, I went dairy-free. So I was like way ahead of the curve. I also did a lot of alternative medicine on that during that time too. Homeopathy, acupuncture, all the things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Hey, how do you deal with going into an Italian restaurant not ordering garlic bread?
I don't eat bread. If somebody has gluten-free bread, I might occasionally eat it, but I don't really eat grains either. So yeah, I do. If they have gluten-free pasta, I will tend to eat sometimes. But I more cook my own than eat it in a restaurant. I'll eat like meat and vegetables usually, or salad at a restaurant.
Okay, great. All right, before I get to your next question, I want to let everybody know that the reason for this series that we started in during the early days of COVID was to show the world that we wanted to ask people with multiple sclerosis that are doing things for the MS community, whether it be their job, you know, when they're, you know, making money for it, or they're doing it as a volunteer, but basically to show you all that, you know, there are things to do. I mean, there are a lot of people with MS that don't work, that could work, and think that they have MS, and that just means, you know, sit back and wait for a cure to be found. And we want to let you all know that it's, you know, a cure could be there and it may not be there. But in the meantime, learn from those that are doing things, the doers out there, right? And we hope that everybody that's on here tonight is a doer. But if you're not, let's hope that, you know, you find a way to get out there and do something, not just for yourself, but maybe for your family, your friends. But the bottom line is, if you can do more for yourself, you'll feel better doing that for yourself, okay? You'll definitely feel more in place than just sitting back. So going forward, please tell us about, you know, how this led to your career.
So I was in the film, and well, I grew up as an actress. I was a drama dance major in college. I grew up acting when I was young, and ultimately moved to New York City right out of college, and I moved there 5 days before 9/11. So I was in, which was crazy, and then ended up doing celebrity PR for a while, was diagnosed with MS in the midst of my first move between New York and LA. Continued on with my career, but it was tough because at 24 years old, you know, most people are out partying and you know, eating whatever they want and drinking whatever they want. And I was like, no, I can't do that. So that changed things. Eventually, I moved back to New York, met my husband, moved back to New York, and I started personal wardrobe styling. And I was essentially empowering women and men through their wardrobes. I was a certified image consultant and had my own business for over 10 years doing that. And I was traveling a lot. And 5.5 years ago, we were actually at that time living in Nashville. So I've lived in a lot of places, a lot of big cities. And 5.5 years ago, I had my worst MS exacerbation ever and hit rock bottom, just totally hit rock bottom. And realized I needed to slow down. I was killing myself. I was working, I was up on ladders, down on my knees, hauling clothes for clients and traveling all the time. And I realized I just had to stop. At the same time, my doctor, I had not been on an MS drug for 14 years, the first 14 years of my diagnosis. And I realized I needed to just slow down, and I got back to my roots and started meditating. And through meditation, I finally came around to the acceptance, because I realized that I had been resisting my diagnosis for a very long time. And the acceptance was the key to true healing. And it's what I teach, it's what I tell, it's what I teach my students now. And through all of that, I finally got on a drug. I started really going down a path of meditation, and I began craving my drama dance roots that I had left behind years ago, and wanted to get back to it. So I started creating practices for myself, for my own healing. And through the practices I created, I said, this really is helping me on my journey, so I want to start to share it with others. And so about 2 years ago, I began really developing the MS Stage program, and last year I officially launched it. I beta tested it. I started working with women around the world, and really it was like I knew I had something because I felt like it really came through me. I'm a very spiritual person, and it felt that it came through me. It came through me in meditation. It came through me in prayer. And
what came through you? What came through you?
The program, the method, yeah. And so I knew I had something, but then I started testing it to make sure that it worked for other women too. And sure enough, it does. So the transformations that are happening is incredible.
Okay, so right now you're talking about this thing that you're doing, and I know it's later on in my list of questions that I want to ask, but tell me about it now, and tell me about what it is that you're doing to turn the symptoms into superpowers, so to speak.
Yeah, so it's really important. So the first thing that I do is it's in module 3 of the 12-week program, but I lead them down in a meditation to name their symptoms. And I find it incredibly crucial to learn to become friends with your symptoms. As much as a lot of people are angry, they're either in denial around the fact that they were diagnosed with MS, or that they, I don't say I have it. I say I was diagnosed with it. I don't like to put it on people because I don't own the label. I never have. But that's not to say, and what I teach is that it exists. It's like another entity that's sitting here, that it's like we know what it is and we know it exists, but we have to become friends with it as if it's this other entity. It doesn't have to own us, and it doesn't have to be our identity. But the naming of the symptom is one of the most important things. And once you name your symptom, then you actually become friends with it. You learn more about it, which is very crucial, because then it becomes like a character in your story. And once you can see it in that way, you can begin to develop a relationship with it, which is much lighter. There doesn't have to be as much hatred towards it, and it can become more fun, so that when the symptom's acting up, you can be like, well, why, what's going on? So then you can have a conversation with it. My left leg, you mentioned earlier, is named Roxy. And she came to me, I asked in a meditation one day, I said, what if I named my leg? Like, what would that look like? What would it be? And so I asked in meditation what my leg's name was, and the name Roxy came to me. And I thought, Roxy, what? Why Roxy? And then I thought, I don't know anybody named Roxy. But then I remembered that Roxy is one of my favorite theater characters in the musical Chicago. And so then it began to all make sense. I thought, of course, that makes total sense, because I used to dance and perform on stages, and I still dance. And part of the program, we dance as well with our symptoms. So
You know, you can come to our programs anytime you want and dance. It'll help build character.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
true.
All right. Sorry to cut you off, but I just want to move on a little bit. You said that you were not using an MS medication, and when did you start using an MS medication?
Like 5.5 years ago.
Okay, and that was because what?
Because I had my worst MS exacerbation ever. I lost
Okay.
feeling from the neck down,
Okay.
and was in the hospital, was on steroids, and I had exacerbations off and on throughout the years, but not that many, and never as bad as that one.
Okay,
And
and so since then, have you had any other problems?
no, I mean, I've been on a drug since then. If anything, I'm actually probably healthier than I was then. I was, like I said, I was killing myself with work,
Right.
and traveling too much and working too hard. And because of my meditation practice and my diet and the med and all of it, yeah, I'm actually healthier, I would say.
Okay, good. Thank you for pointing that out. So let's
Mhm.
talk about, again, going back to the MS stage. How do you, what do you call the MS stage method? What is that comprised of?
So it's what I created. It's the meditations I use with music behind them. I am a huge believer that the music drives the meditation stronger and deeper into the cells of the body. So because your cells are always listening, they're listening to what you say, you think, you feel. So I'm an empowerment coach. A lot of people, which I understand, it's hard, they talk negatively towards their bodies because they're mad at them, versus talking positively towards their bodies and saying, I know you're trying hard. They're working so hard for us. Our cells are always trying. They want to be healthy. So it's part of the MS stage method is the meditations. We dance with our symptoms. It's not choreographed movement. It's improvisational meditative movement,
Right.
being witnessed by other women in the group. It's very profound and powerful.
Okay. At what stage in a person's MS journey can they begin your program?
Any stage. They can be newly diagnosed. They can be 10 years. I've had women 10 years or 15 years in. I have given talks to women who've had it even probably 20 something years. And they can be in a wheelchair. They don't have to be super mobile. Some people dance like literally can be seated visualizing themselves dancing, and that can be profound. Again, because that goes back to your cells are always paying attention and listening. So if you're visualizing something, you can literally make a change in your life. So it goes back to the practice of our thoughts create our reality. So yeah, they can be at any stage, really.
Well, I've never been a dancer, but yet I sit here every day and I imagine myself trying to dance, and it makes me laugh my ass off, all right?
There you go. Laughter is medicine. That's wonderful.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So, I have people tell me, though, that, they do meditation and that, we know that meditation, you focus on breathing. How do you vary meditation or your meditation to include naming your symptoms?
So my meditations are more like visualizations. I lead them on a journey. Each one is different. I have 12 stages, so each week we go on a different journey. So I lead them down. One of them I sometimes lead them down a path where they're envisioning something at the end of the path. They're seeing themselves in a new way. So I'm always leading a visualization in some way. So that's different. I do lead them in breath and breathing ahead of time, but I want them to drop into their bodies. I want them to get out of their heads and really get into their bodies and see how they can create newness, how it actually exists, and how it's possible.
Okay, so how do you label the different characteristics of the naming the most difficult challenges that you have, or the most challenging symptoms, I should say, using the signature of your method?
Well, it's up to the student. I mean, I don't name them. They name them. It's whatever comes to them in the meditation when I'm guiding it. It does not have to be planned at all. In fact, I'd rather it not be planned, just like the name came to me. I want it to just be whatever first pops into their head, whatever comes to them as I'm leading them in meditation. That's ultimately the name. So, and then that name is like, okay, why, we may or may not be able to figure out why that name popped into our head, but eventually I do believe we do. And then we start to find out in the meditation and the visualization, what do they look like? What are they wearing? Are they male or female? We start to really dig into who the character of the symptom is.
Okay, thank you. Before I continue, we had a lot of people come online since we first started. If any of you have any questions for Megan or me, no, you could do it for Megan, all right? But if you have any questions, just type them in. I mean, just go to the top of the toolbar where you have the red or orange box, depending on how your server sees it, and click on it and then type in your questions, all right? I'd be more than happy, more than whatever, to ask your questions and bring them over to Megan, and so she can answer them, okay? All right, but keep it about this topic. She cannot answer about proctology, okay? All right, yeah, just bringing that up. All right, so a person online is asking, are your 12 sessions virtual or live?
Good question. They are virtual. They're all on Zoom. It's 2 hours a week. So it's one class for 2 hours. And we do 6 weeks, which is the first stage. Then we take a 2-week break because I want the work to integrate with you. And then we do another 6 weeks.
Okay. And you, let's put it this way. Why working with symptoms on an energetic level through movement is essential to healing. Why do you say that?
Because, as I mentioned, our cells are always listening. So also our emotions are the language of the body. So I created a practice called Switch that is a movement exercise where we switch emotions. So I'll play a song and I'll call out different emotions and we'll switch from like frustration to ease or anger to love, so that your body begins to feel that the positive emotions are possible. So your cells can experience what that feels like in your body. And then you can begin to speak that language in a new way, which is really, really powerful.
Okay, so how do you incorporate your signature warm-ups, your daily exercises, the beginning exercises of a day? How do you get them to get in touch with a person's feelings of what's going on with their own body or their own symptoms at that time?
So I teach different practices in the beginning of the 12 weeks, and then I give them homework each week. And part of that homework is to do the switch exercise every morning, to do a gratitude practice in the morning, so that you can start to end to meditate. But I feel like some people like to pick and choose what resonates most with them, so they don't have to do all of the things. But I do really try to get them to stay consistent with the practice, because the more you do it, the more things begin to shift and evolve, and it's really important.
Okay, so you told me that you help people converse with their own symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
How do you get them to, how do they use that to make things better for themselves?
So it becomes more of because they become friends with them, it becomes easier to deal with, because they know more about them, because they have a relationship with them. They know what they look like, so they can have a conversation with them. So for instance, if my leg is dragging a little bit, I can ask Roxy, my leg, what is going on? Why is she acting up? And how can I help her? What does she need from me? Does she need me to rest? Do I need to walk more? Do I need to exercise more? Do I need to eat differently? Did I eat something that, like I can really you can have a relationship with them and really start to have a conversation. And it becomes more, instead of feeling like you're helpless, it becomes hopeful, because you actually can control what's going on the more you visualize it, the more you're at ease with it, and the more you're in conversation with your body all the time.
Okay, it's funny because every time you met, first off, thank you for that answer. But every time you mention the name Roxy, I had a dog named Roxy. So every time you say Roxy, every time you say Roxy, I imagine myself walking with a leash, and I don't imagine Roxy asking me, "Why are you limping today?" Right?
Right.
So right. Okay, so I'm giggling every time you say Roxy. So all right, going back to you. All right, so you were a former personal wardrobe stylist for over a decade, and you were building confidence in women using what technique? What were you doing? Can you tell us?
Well, I was a certified image consultant, so I really was using clothes because really it's like the first thing that people see when you walk in the room, right? And that or a smile, what you're wearing, right? And yeah,
you're wearing it.
If you're wearing it. So yeah, I was building confidence in
Right.
people through what they were wearing and making them feel good about their bodies, even if they weren't the model, right? It was a matter of feeling good in how they presented themselves every day. And because the first thing we do when we wake up, right, is basically get dressed. So get dressed for the day, and that can make or break your day if you're not feeling good about what you have on. So that's what I was doing, and in a weird way, I mean, I guess it's always been my mission to empower people, because that's essentially that is what I'm doing now, but it's just funny because it transferred into this business.
That's right. So after helping all these women near and far that you've been doing things with, first off, for how many years have you been doing this?
Well, this program has just launched a year and a half ago.
Okay.
And I was doing styling for over 10 years.
Say that again, please.
I was doing styling, personal wardrobe styling for over 10 years.
Okay. So how many people have you worked with, and how is this helping to build your own confidence?
Build my confidence or their confidence? Yes. My students' confidence.
Yours and theirs.
Well, mine.
How is it helping you to empower yourself to do that much more for yourself as you help others?
Yeah, well, it's important for me to stay consistent with my practice, because my practice being my meditation, my dance, all the things that I do to keep myself aligned, because I'm holding space for women around the world who are going through this program, and I have to be in a good space, right? So that's crucial. And in terms of them, I mean, it's changing women's lives. I've witnessed it. I've seen everything from a woman who was mostly in a wheelchair, who would dance in the beginning seated, with sometimes her eyes closed, although she would get dizzy, so she would just do a little bit of movement like with her arms. Now she's standing dancing. She may be a little off kilter and a little off balance, but she got, all of a sudden, her career has changed, and I've seen women, I mean, just all kinds of amazing things have happened with women, and I can't write this stuff. It's their bodies. It's what they're dealing with that is creating their path, which is what I'm helping guide them on to create new possibilities for them.
Okay, thank you. How do you handle those that say they don't believe you?
I've never had someone tell me they don't believe me. I would say, you have to see it for yourself. And I mean, you'd have to try it, right? Like, I don't know what to say to that, to be honest with you, because I don't believe that it doesn't work. I know it. I know it works. I've witnessed it working. So,
but there are always those negative people out there, though.
Of course.
Right. Okay.
That don't believe it. Yeah, of course. But I would say that you would try it, and I would say it doesn't have to be that this is maybe not for everybody. I would say you have to be open, Right.
So for those people, though, those negative people that want to try your program, how do you push them to do more and more?
Oh, I don't push them. You mean within the program? How do I push them?
Yes.
I mean, I'm very delicate. I know how to handle, like I said, I was a stylist for over 10 years. I know how to handle people. So I'm very intuitive, so I don't push them. I allow them to go on their own journey. I help guide them. I pull things
Okay,
very
that's good.
gently out of them.
That's very fair. Thank you. Tell us about your diet. I mean, I heard that you're doing the Walls protocol. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I do a version. I would say I'm very Walls inspired, let's say. I mean, I was already gluten, dairy, sugar, everything free before I even knew about Dr. Walls. So I kind of was already on her protocol before I even knew who she was. Now I would say I've kind of taken that to, a deeper level, I guess. I'm further along on the protocol. So I totally believe in it. I really do. But I know that some of my students are vegan, some are plant-based, I mean, everybody has their way. And so
Right.
I'm not critical of that. I mean, I have students who are taking MS drugs. I have students who aren't taking MS drugs. So we don't really cover that. If people want to share with each other, they're more than more than welcome to. But I don't judge. Everybody has their own body and everyone's body is different. And so that is whatever works for them.
Okay. So tell us, though, there are a lot of people online that never heard of the Walls protocol. What can you tell them?
So I would say it's paleo based. If they've heard of paleo, it's very meat heavy. She does have a vegetarian version of it for people who don't want to eat meat. What she calls paleo plus is no grains, no dairy, no sugar. As my husband would joke, he would say no fun. But I'm teasing. It is very, you feel really good. And it's more high fat than you would, it's not tons of fat, but she gets into organ meat, and some people might not like that, which is fine. But like I have bison in the morning. I eat ground bison usually in the morning, or ground beef in the morning for breakfast. So, there's but it's been good for me, for my body.
You could get bison in South Carolina?
Well, Whole Foods sells ground bison.
Okay, gotcha. All right, so tell us about intermittent fasting. You wrote to me that you do intermittent fasting as well. So what can you tell us about that?
Yeah, interesting. So I was doing like 14 to 16 hours at night. I would do intermittent fasting. Now I probably do 12 to 14. I backed off a slightly bit because I'm now a little further along in my 40s, Stuart, and and my hormones decided that my hormones didn't like me to do as much fasting as I was doing. Although it's funny because sometimes I walk better if I'm fasting more. So, which is, you would think that's weird, but I don't know. Everybody's body is different. I will say that meditation and visualization actually has and can help your walking. If you're dealing with MS and your walking is bad, visualizing yourself walking and meditating, doing that can actually help.
Right. All right, so tell us about the supplements that you're using. What are you using, and how often do you use them?
Well, I'm not a doctor, so I can't sit here,
I'm not saying that. I want to know about you.
Okay. So I take lots. I take vitamin D. I take magnesium. Cramping, for people who have cramping at night, magnesium gel is really good for it. I take, oh my gosh, I didn't know you were going to ask me this because I take so many. It's hard. Choline.
My program, not yours.
I take a GastroMend pill because it's all about the gut and the microbiome. I take probiotics. I take an adrenal supplement. I've got bees. Bees are really important. Vitamin B, like a multivitamin. Omegas are really important. Those are probably my key things. Alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10. I mean, I could go on.
All right, good.
Yeah.
So tell us about what do you do at night? All right. You made mention that you don't do anything Wi-Fi like at night. What does that actually mean?
So, excuse me. That's a good question. So I turn my Wi-Fi off at night. So, which is really easy. You can get one of those landscape remotes literally on Amazon for like $10 or $15. And it can be connected to your router, and you just click it off at night. So my husband and I turn it off at night so that you're not sleeping in constant electromagnetic field. Because your body is sleeping. I mean, when it's sleeping is the time that your body is trying to heal the most. So your immune system really needs the calm energy. The other thing I would say is grounding and earthing, putting your feet in the sand or in the dirt is vital. So if you can get outside every day, ideally, if it's cold where you are or raining or whatever, and you can't get outside, there are things called earthing mats that you can buy. And I've got, if you go to my website, I've got a resources page with some of my favorites too.
We'll get to that in a minute, all right? We will definitely get to that in a minute. All right, so how does your program differ from others who claim similar benefits?
There is nothing like this out there. I mean, there is no program to compare it to that I know of, which is why I created it, because I felt the need. I felt like there was a gap in the community, and this is all about getting in touch with who they are, and really deep down, aside from MS, what's really calling on them to like come out. And so lives have changed. Their jobs have changed, their careers, they've moved. I mean, I've had women who all kinds of things have happened that I can't write, I can't make it up. There isn't anything like what I'm doing. There isn't. So I can't compare it to that. I would say it's mindfulness, right? It's based on the principles of mindfulness practices and the tools of somatic therapy, which is, I'm not a somatic therapist, but somatic work, I would say. It's based on that, which is what my switch exercise is based on. So it's really mind, body, and spirit is the MS stage.
Right. Okay, thank you. And so then, why should a person, though, seriously choose you over anybody else that's doing the same thing?
Well, there isn't the same thing, but
similar things.
Okay, well, I mean, look, maybe because I would say because I've been there, you know, I was diagnosed almost 20 years ago. I've been there and I understand. I know what it's like. I know how scary it is. I know what the journey is like, which is why I'm here where I am now. And I'm also a very positive person, and I know that anything is possible. I've seen it. I've witnessed it. I've had my own experience with it.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, so what is one thing the audience can do today to help them on their journey?
I would urge them to, it's a tool that I teach. It's the first tool that I teach to get out of their heads and into their bodies. So I tell them to close their eyes, take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and say to themselves, as I would say to myself, I, Megan, get out of my head and into my body. And when anxiety arises, when fear arises, be present with yourself and do that. It's really important, and it will help you drop into your body so that you can then realize what is happening really in the present moment and not let your mind start racing.
Okay, thank you. I must be asking great questions because I'm not getting too many from the outside. We're getting a few here and there, which I have been asking, but for the majority, come on, people. Do you have any questions? All right.
Ask away. Don't be shy.
I must be hitting on all the good things, all right? All right, so let's see. Actually, one person just wrote that they sent the question, but there we go. How many participants in a given are there in a given class, and can the graduates continue communicating with each other?
Good question. So yes and yes. So there are only a max of 6 people per group. So it's a very intimate group. And then yes, you can continue on chatting in the portal. And also afterwards, once you do the 12 weeks, I do a monthly membership so that they can, excuse me, so that they can connect with each other. And I can connect with them and teach a class with them once a month so they stay consistent with the work.
Okay. All right. So next, is your program cost friendly?
I have payment plans. So yes, there are options for that.
Okay. Thank you. And how can people get in touch with you? How can they get signed up for the program?
So on my Instagram, it's at the MS Stage on Instagram, or www.themsstage.com is my website. You can fill out the form to join a group. I will actually be launching my next group in the next few weeks, so you can get on my wait list, which is on my homepage. You can sign up for my wait list, and you'll be getting information about my next launch. Those are the best things to do. Also on my Instagram at the MS Stage, I have a free mini course, which is a 3-day mini course that gives you the tools, like some of the key tools of the MS Stage. You just do it on your own at home on 3 different videos. And I have a free 3-day meditation journey also on Instagram. You can go to my link in bio on Instagram and get all of that information too.
You're keeping busy. Now I got people asking questions now that I thought I was at the end.
Good. You can do a discovery call with me too. If you want to go to themsstage.com/call, you can set up a call with me and I can learn more about your journey. We can see if you're a good fit for the program, and I can help guide you along that too.
Okay, great. Thank you. A person is asking, what's the price charge to take a course?
So right now it's $11.97. And like I said, I have payment plans that you can do 2 payments of $6.50, I think, or 3 of $4.75.
So we're not talking $6.50 here.
No, this is a program. It's live. You get me live 2 hours a week for 12 weeks. And I'm coaching you consistently, and you get the group, and you get all this other stuff. You get bonuses, and you get to continue on with you get to continue to talk to the group in the portal. And then if you want to join a membership, that's a lot less money, but that's a monthly fee. And right now that's $39 a month. But you have to have had the 12-week experience before you can join the monthly membership.
Okay, so from 2 other people, one's asking, are there any scholarships available? And another is asking, is this, can you contact, whatever. Can you, I'm trying to read the wording, which isn't so great, that they want to know if they can put in for this with their insurance.
So I have looked into that, and I do believe you can do, if you have an HSA, that you can use an HSA. I do believe that, but not with your insurance. But you can contact me. If you get on Instagram at the MS Stage, you can DM me, or info at themsstage.com. You can email me, and we can talk about all kinds of, I can try to work with you for that.
Okay, thank you. All right, and the scholarships. So the other person asking about scholarships.
Yeah, so email me, info at themsstage.com, and we can talk about that.
Okay, got it. And for those listening, yes, this is being recorded, and no, it's not coming out immediately because I am a month and a half, maybe 2 months behind in getting things published to the YouTube channel. Too many programs. That's all I can say. Too many programs, which is great for the MS community and terrible for me. Okay, I can't breathe anymore. Okay. All right. Next one. Another person's asking, there's so many areas of advice for breathing. See, there I go, right? Is there a unique differentiation, whatever.
Differentiation?
Yeah, that one. That one. It's like me trying to say cinnamon, whatever. For this program. What can you tell us about it?
I would say the breath work, I mean, I don't teach breath work, quote unquote, but I would say that I am very focused on breath during the meditations. in the beginning because I want you to drop into your body. And then it just becomes more of the visualization. So we don't do specific breath work, but we do drop into the body via the breath, if that helps.
Yes. Okay, I think it does anyway. All right, I think I'm out of questions from online. I don't have any others coming in right now. I do want to say, first off, thank you very much, Megan, for being here. And secondly, I do want to let people know that if you want to reach Megan, if you're on social media, you can just go to @the_MS_stage. All right, if you want to contact her via her website, just go to themsstage.com. All right, and if you're on podcast, you can listen on Spotify.
Well, my work works for people who don't deal with MS too. It works for anybody. I'm focusing just with women who are dealing with MS, but I've literally helped people who also have different symptoms who have other issues.
Okay. Well, thank you very much and have a great night. I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. Be well.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.